For millennia, the story of the Israelites' departure from Egypt, the Exodus, has been a cornerstone of faith. At its heart lies the most astounding event, the miracle of the Red Sea. Moses raised his staff, the waters divided, and the Israelites crossed on dry ground, while the pursuing Egyptian army was drowned. But in this age of science and archaeology, does concrete evidence exist to support this incredible event? Today, we will merge the biblical account with archaeological findings, geographical clues, and a critical analysis of subsequent Egyptian history to uncover the truth of this pivotal moment. The Red Sea crossing is not merely a myth, but a historical event supported by biblical record, geographical consistency, potential archaeological remnants, and evidence of a subsequent significant decline in Egyptian power. The Bible records the Israelites departing from cities like Ramesses and Pithom, which have been archaeologically confirmed on the eastern edge of the Nile Delta. This early itinerary shows a strong agreement between the biblical narrative and historical reality. Biblical waypoints align with known settlements and routes used in the Late Bronze Age. The Hebrew text calls the body of water they crossed the Yam Suf, or Reed Sea. While some scholars interpret this as a shallow lake in the north, such a theory struggles to reconcile with the grandeur described in Exodus, that the waters formed two walls. The scale and language suggest a deeper, more formidable crossing consistent with a true sea. The alternative, which aligns more closely with a spectacular miracle, points to the Gulf of Aqaba, specifically Nuweiba Beach. Here, a rare, gently sloping submerged land bridge runs from shore to shore, making it the only feasible deep-water crossing point. Geography and topography combine to create a natural corridor hidden beneath the waves. If this is the site, the seabed should retain traces of one of history's most consequential pursuits. So, we look beneath the surface. If the crossing happened at Nuweiba, the seafloor should hold the wreckage of Pharaoh's army. Independent dive teams claim to have found compelling artifacts in the depths, between 30 and 60 meters. Targets appear as unusual circular forms scattered along the slope of the underwater ridge. The purported discoveries include circular structures encrusted in coral that resemble chariot wheels. Divers report 4, 6, and even 8-spoked patterns preserved in the coral growth. Crucially, these designs are consistent with New Kingdom Egyptian chariots from the proposed time of the Exodus, showing chronological consistency. Within some incrustations, hints of internal structure suggest original man-made cores. Egyptian military chariots used wooden spokes with iron hubs and bronze caps, elements that could leave detectable traces. The geometry underwater mirrors the proportions seen in museum specimens. Magnetic surveys on some artifacts have allegedly detected ferrous signals, suggesting they were once metal objects. Internal voids and linear densities align with hubs and rims rather than random coral accretion. While academic confirmation is ongoing, the visual and material evidence is specific to the period. Form, proportion, and spacing of spokes support the identification. Multiple finds along a linear corridor strengthen the argument for a mass loss event. On the eastern side of the Gulf, additional clues have surfaced. Remains, including a human tibia and a horse femur, have been documented. Reported radiocarbon results suggest a period between 1400 and 1200 BC, overlapping with the likely time frame of the Exodus. These findings remain under discussion, but their convergence is notable. Scholars urge caution, demanding rigorous peer review and provenance. Yet the specificity of shapes, the clustering along a traversable path, and the metallurgical hints carry weight. Taken together, the puzzle pieces begin to form a coherent picture. A hidden bridge, an army in pursuit, and artifacts lying where the ridge meets the deep. If true, the sea still whispers of chariots lost to the depths, and it would echo the ancient song of deliverance preserved in the text. But how do natural explanations measure up against this scale? Skeptics often attempt to rationalize the event using wind set-down, where a powerful wind temporarily pushes water out of a shallow basin. In limited contexts, such effects are real and measurable. However, such an event is geographically impossible in the deep water Gulf of Aqaba. Depths plummet rapidly. Wind cannot expose a deep-sea corridor of this magnitude. The biblical description speaks of walls of water, a passage with water on their right hand and on their left. The very nature of the Gulf, combined with this language, elevates the crossing far beyond a simple natural occurrence. It requires a specific, sudden, and powerful divine intervention to expose the unique deep-sea land bridge long enough for millions to cross. Even without definitive forensic proof, the narrative's specific geographical details remain striking. Its chronological anchors point to a major cataclysmic historical event, not a simple vague myth. The scale, setting, and sequence align with an unparalleled moment. So what happened next within Egypt itself? One of the most compelling, though indirect, pieces of evidence is what happened after the disaster. The loss of Pharaoh and his entire elite army would have been a cataclysmic blow to Egypt. It would remove the core of military and technological might overnight. Historically, following the mid-18th dynasty, we see a discernible drop in aggressive expansionism and monumental building projects. Amarna letters, ancient diplomatic correspondence, show a sudden and severe loss of control over Egyptian vassal states in Canaan. Cities report incursions and instability across the Levant. Petitions plead for aid that never arrives, a regional power unable to project force. The letters repeatedly complain that Egyptian forces are unable to respond to local threats, begging for troops that never arrive. This diplomatic and military paralysis is exactly what one would expect following the devastating loss of chariotry and manpower at the Red Sea. Internal confidence falters as foreign dominance wanes. The sudden and significant weakening of Egyptian dominance abroad, coinciding with a pause in internal stability, offers a powerful, circumstantial argument that a vast, unparalleled military disaster, like the one described in the Exodus, truly occurred. We have explored the precise geography of the Gulf of Aqaba and the proposed crossing at Nuweiba. We have considered period-specific artifacts potentially lying beneath its surface and the subsequent documented decline of Egyptian imperial power. Archaeology cannot prove a miracle, but it provides compelling corroborating evidence that the Red Sea crossing was a spectacular, real-world catastrophe for Egypt. Faith is believing in what you cannot see, but sometimes the land and the sea whisper the story. The Red Sea miracle is not just a myth, but a monumental, verifiable event.